to inspire those who sought inspiration from me. I never saw myself as a role model. I saw myself as someone who gained inspiration from her mother to help others. During preparatory, school, and high school, I was constantly bullied by my peers. Like my superhero, my mother would come in and address these issues head on. She encouraged me to dismiss the negative comments that my peers would make and write, and made me realize my true potential. In every speech I gave, I credited my mother as being the wind beneath my wings. During my school years, I was known as little handbag. This is not surprising, as the majority of my lifetime I spent living with her. I have inherited so many quirky ways from my mother that my friends often comment, "You reminded me so much of your mom a while ago," and many of them are here, so you can ask them. Like mommy, I love baseball. Like mommy, I love soccer. Like mommy, I love to act out stories and share jokes. Like mommy, I love fast food, especially KFC. Like mommy, I love fashion. Like mommy, I love to go out. Like mommy, I wear my thoughts on my face. Like mommy, I have a passion for human rights. My mother was known to take the worst problems on her shoulders. Every day she brought the newspapers and made it her point of duty to read obituaries. I cannot even begin to count the number of funerals that I attended with my mother. She would never leave a funeral without a copy of the program, looking at the deceased person and unloading her tears. One time, however, a trip to a funeral was not so daunting. Several years ago, a senior member of Miss Scott in my community, in my childhood community, died. As usual, my mother insisted that we reach the funeral early. We walked in and sat near to the front of the church at my mother's request. It was not long before we started to wonder why we were not seeing anyone we recognized, especially the bereaved family. We quickly realized that we were in the wrong funeral because it was going over into the time. My mother and I burst out into laughter, of course, much to the annoyance of those nearest to us. My mother left a trail wherever she went because of her dynamic personality. Once my friends and colleagues learned of her passing, I received hundreds of messages from persons not only in Jamaica but overseas as well. Even those who met her once were nonetheless able to share some comical experience they had with her. I pray that when I die, I will have positively impacted as many lives as my mom did. To the woman I loved the most, I want to dedicate this poem. The author is unknown. If roses grow in heaven, Lord, please pick a bunch for me. Place them in my mother's arms and tell them they're for me. Tell her I love her and miss her. And when she turns to smile, place a kiss upon her cheek and hold her for a while. Because remembering her is easy. I do it every day. But there's an ache within my heart that will never go away. Mommy, I love you.
I must say that my sister has been everything to me in nurturing me from as early as 1 year and 6 months old. After Miss Brown taught me in basic school, she pulled me aside one night and she said, "Claude, I want to teach you this. I want to teach you this about your father." And it's a little poem. Now I'm 58 years old, and I remember this poem that my sister taught me as if it was yesterday. It goes on to start like this. Father's Day by Vivian Ross. I'd like to give my father a gift that's fine and smart, but since I have no money, I'll give him all my heart. I'll tell him I love him. He'll understand the rest. But Mom says she's quite sure. She thinks my gift is the best. Janet taught me that when I was 1 year and 6 months old. Then she pulled me aside when I was about 9 years old after we left Enfield and went to Montego. And she said, Claude, because her parents were extremely poor, living in Enfield. She said, Claude, never let our poor situation that we're growing up in determine our outcome. You can become anything that you want to become. Because of my sister, I was able to become a member of the Jamaica Defense Force. Because of my sister, I was able to become a member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Because of my sister, I was able to move to the United States in 1980 on to university where I studied music. Janet was a giant. She was a giver. She was a teacher. She was everything that anyone would ask for as a brother. I remember as a young policeman in 1976, when my sister was writing advice for the love law, they used to ridicule us and said, Claude, I know Janet Sinclair, man. Janet Sinclair is not your sister, man, because you're dark skin, man. The real Janet Sinclair is light skin. I know her very, very, very well. And when I shared that with Janet, she just laughed, because she was a very humble individual. I remember again in the 70s, when a popular DJ did a song about my sister. If you have a problem in your love is affair, tell it to Janet Sinclair. I stood high, I felt proud. I felt good within myself to know that my sister, who came from the humble district of Enfield, who was born in the humble district of Enfield, is so revered, even so in sound. Janet has been a giant and a teacher and a giver. The people of Franklin Town love her dearly because she reached out. She made a lot of money, but I can tell you this, my sister died poor because she gave it all away. Money didn't mean nothing to her because God has given her the gift to be able to make it again and again and again. I'm not going to be too long. I remember this, because I'm going to leave now, but my bigger sister knew that. Because you know, when you become a man and you want to go about your girl's way and so on, my mom used to be very protective of her little boy, Claude. So she used to call me and say, Claude, where are you going? And me, the rowdy little boy that I love, said, Mom, I'm a big man, I'm going to leave me alone and cuss, and you know. And then my sister called me on the phone, you know. She said, Claude, never ever you curse at your mother again. Remember that when Mama passed, when she does pass, and you cry, you must cry real tears. Your tears must be real because you loved your mother and honored your mother. My sister Janet Sinclair, because of you, I became this giant that they call Big Stone today. I brought the son of Marcus Garvey to Jamaica in 2012. In 2013, I brought the son of Marcus Garvey again, along with Steve Biko's son all the way from South Africa. These are great achievements. Because of my sister, I'm able to lift my head up high and be proud of who I am. Janet Sinclair, I want to salute you. On behalf of my family, Donald Sinclair, we miss you. On behalf of my family, Claude Sinclair Jr., we miss you. On behalf of my family, Claudia, we miss you. On behalf of my twin son, Shane and Sean, we miss you. On behalf of my grandchildren, Cameron and Soleil, we miss you. And I know Kitty is blind, he has no feet, but he loved my sister dearly. I know Edwin, wherever he is, he loved my sister dearly. I know Paul loved my sister dearly. I know all of y'all love my sister dearly, and so do I. I want to thank the Brown family. They made it all the way from MC to come here. I want to thank the great-great-grandson of Paul Moore, Hudson Moore, who's a very busy man who took time all the way from St. Thomas to come here to honor my sister. I want to big up the member of Parliament, Mr. Julian Robinson, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for coming out. You was there at the first call, I think the second night that she passed away. You came and you gave your condolences along with your sister, the Deputy Mayor, Mr. Sweet. So we thank you very much, sir. And we thank all of you all for coming out and support the family. Janet, you're a legend. I will never, ever, ever forget you. I will pick up where you left off, because I'm a giver, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator. I will never, ever fall short of what you taught me to become a man. Thank you very much.
For his remembrance. Knowing Granville as well as we do, I'm sure somewhere there will be a moment of light around. So at this time, I'm trying to tell me the way to get this smoke. Oh, there it is. So as he comes, he could bear he will add a little bit of dimension to things. But as I
although it was something that I might have been prepared for, I was prepared. And the first thing that I couldn't blame me on that, God was there, and he put nothing in my name. He should have said, corporate, but I was at Sutherfield Church a couple of months ago, and Barry was preaching a sermon. And in the middle of the sermon, he asked the congregation to raise 3 words. And he said, he's going to raise 3 words. And after each word, he must raise a song. He said, Jesus, the song, Sweet Jesus. He said, grace, the song, Amazing Grace. He said, sex, grace will be quiet. A little lady got up on the back and said, precious memories, how sweet they were. What we are here today about is the memory of my cousin Jonathan. Ditto to all that has been said before. I would just like to add to it the fact that as it relates to her children, she gave her life for them. I remember Roxanne and Peter gave when they were in person and when they went down to Immaculate. Janet would leave no stone unturned to make sure that they were well looked after for their education and that they did achieve a good education. I remember also recently in the case of Courtney. Janet made exceptional sacrifices to make sure that she realized her dream of going to university. I remember on many occasions she would call like myself or Glenn to help her coordinate or to assist in whatever way possible. But she left no stone unturned to make sure that they got education. I would like to leave with us at this point that most of us are parents make great sacrifices for us. And in return, we should always make sure that we love, cherish, and honor our parents where they are alive. Regardless of the adversities, love is always in the middle of our parents' thoughts and their gift to us. Their soul rest in peace. God bless you.
I'm here today, Janet Sinclair, eldest daughter. Janet Maria Sinclair was born to the late Rodney and Curtis Sinclair on May 27, 1952 in Enfield, St. Mary. She had 9 siblings. Sadly, her brother Delroy died at the tender age of 2 after he choked on an epilepsy. During her years in Enfield, she enjoyed participating in lively discussions, going to the river, and climbing trees with her siblings, and racing others on the track field, especially her 1-year older brother, the late Norman Sinclair. She and Norman were extremely close, so much that Norman and Janet acquired similar pet names, Lonnie and Lorna. Her continued admiration for Norman was undeniable. She recited how proud she felt when he became a medical doctor, but the tale she told the most about Norman was when he competed at the National Stadium and placed 3rd to track and field legend Don Clark. Her passion for running also carried over to national and international track and field events. Her favorite athlete was Veronica Campbell Brown. No one could speak ill of Veronica in Mommy's presence. Mommy was so convincing of Veronica's athletic abilities that both Roxanne and Courtney, my youngest siblings, considered Veronica as their favorite athlete. When Mommy was a teenager, she became pregnant, and at 15, 3 months before her 16th birthday, she gave birth to her only son, the late Paul Scott Jr., whom she affectionately referred to as Pablo. Despite being a teenager, Mommy was determined to provide a life for herself and her son. So with a heavy heart, she left him with her parents and moved to Kingston. Mommy always boasted that she wanted to become an attorney at law because she wanted to advocate for the rights of others. But not being able to afford the high academic costs, she decided that she would enroll in the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The minimum age requirement was 18. Being the creative genius that she was, she hid her age, and unbeknownst to the JCF, she became a constable at age 16 years old. Her time in the JCF was not long due to her outspoken personality and her yearning to seek other opportunities. However, she credited the JCF for introducing her to life outside of Enfield, St. Mary. Mommy worked several odd jobs after leaving the force. She put herself through secretarial school and became a stenographer in the family court. In 1973, Mommy decided that she wanted to extend her family. So in 1974, on Valentine's Day, was when she gave birth to a beautiful daughter, P.T.A. Foster. The year her second daughter, Mommy, was born. Not too long after, she started working at the Jamaica Gleaner as a journalist. While there, she became known throughout Jamaica as the creator of the popular column, Advice to the Lovely, where she would advise persons of various ages on issues of love and lifestyle. She saw this column as a good way to motivate individuals. The column gave Mommy an immense level of popularity. She was so popular that in 1982, singers Little John and Billy Boy wrote a song about her titled Janet Sinclair. This elevated her success even more. Her creative juices began to flow, so while employed at the Gleaner, she decided to become an entrepreneur. In 1979, she became a promoter, starting her own business, JC Promotions. 3 competitions were born: the Ugly Man Contest, the Miss Jamaica Grandmother Contest, and the Miss Jamaica Contest for little girls between 6 and 10 years old. The grandmother and mini competitions were based on intelligence and talent, but the Ugly Man competition, well, you get what it was about. Janet often joked that one of the stages of the Ugly Man contest, a man was quite disgruntled by the fact that he was not crowned the winner. The man pleaded to the judges, "Oh, Bueno, nacimiento was oil. 2 years later, in 1981, Janet created the Miss Teenager contest for girls between 13 to 17 years old. All three competitions were the first of their kind in the Western Hemisphere. Mommy decided that the name Miss Jamaica Teenager sounded too much like a cockroach, and several years later changed the name to Miss Teen Jamaica. She basked in the success of her competitions and would oftentimes sing the song, "There is no business like show business" by Ethel Merman. In 1983, she decided to leave the Miss Jamaica Grandmother competition behind and continue to the staging of the Miss Mini Jamaica and Miss Teen Jamaica contests. She was proud of the fact that winners and participants in her competition excelled academically and in other areas. Like her children, she took a keen interest in the development of the participants in her competitions. She also focused her attention on other forms of writing as well. For example, she was one of the creators of a magazine called Heartbeats and was the editor of the Miss Teen Jamaica and Miss Jamaica magazines. She would never come to the forefront of these business ventures, as she always stated that she did not like public speaking and preferred to work behind the scenes. In 1987, her last child, Courtney Foster, was born. Mommy decided that she would have no more children and placed all her focus on the development of her children and her career. Everyone who interacted with Mommy knew that her children were her pride and joy. She used to write in her diaries and her photo albums, "No one before you, my children, not even myself." And of course by this, she was not referring to God or Jesus, but rather to earthly beings. Mommy worked to give her children the best education. She worked tirelessly to ensure that her children had a sound education. Her only son, Pablo, attended Harrison Memorial Preparatory High School. Her daughters attended Vasco Preparatory School. I attended Immaculate Conception High and the Party Schools. Roxanne attended Immaculate Conception High and St. Andrews High School for girls, and Courtney Camden College. Pablo migrated to live with his grandparents in Brooklyn, New York, where he tried to pursue a music career. In 1984 and 1996, respectively, myself and Roxanne moved to Florida, while Mommy's youngest daughter, Courtney, my sister, remained with her in Jamaica. Despite the migration of Mommy's 3 eldest children and siblings to the U.S., Mommy found the U.S. a nice place to visit, but was adamant that she would not leave her home in Jamaica to live there. One of her favorite things to tell anyone while discussing the USA was that the acronym stood for "You Suffer Alone." Mommy had a flair for drama, and many persons encouraged her to act. Again, her fear of public speaking was a handicap. Nonetheless, Mommy used her surroundings as her own stage when she actively recited her many experiences, which left all who listened in stitches. Mommy was also jovial. She was, as Jamaicans like to say, cannibal, much to the annoyance of her family and friends. Courtney used to tell her Mommy that she should be the brand ambassador for Dettol, as she was their biggest supporter. Not a day would pass that she would send the helper to buy a large bottle of Dettol at a supermarket. Mommy's hygienic obsession influenced her daughters, as they are all, to different levels, germaphobes, and are obsessed with different disinfectants. Mommy had much elasticity in her waistline and was a big supporter of soca and calypso. She spoke of Sparrow and Calypso Rose as her favorite calypso artists. She took pleasure in her travels to Twin Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Like Mommy, myself, Roxanne, and Courtney are very good dancers and immensely enjoy a good soca party. Sadly, in the year 1992, Mommy was told by her physician that she had hypertension. Then in February 2009, she had a heart attack. The death of her beloved parents, Rodney and Fernie, brother Mona, and her only son Pablo, who was murdered in 2013,
weighed heavily on her up to the time of her own death. During her lifetime, she had also seen the sudden passing of four of her closest employees and many friends. She took on the weight of the world on her shoulders, finding it difficult to say no whenever someone came to her for assistance. It was her constant willingness to aid others that caused her reluctance to retire. At 63 years old, Mommy took her final breath. God decided to take her home. Although Mommy was ailing, her passing was quite sudden and unexpected. I spoke to her 30 minutes before she died. At the time of her death, she was preparing to host another one of her many events. Many hearts are broken because of Mommy's passing. Maybe those of her children, but we know that her influence lives on not only through us, her daughters, but also the many lives she touched. She provided opportunities to many persons of all ages. She gave thousands a start, which capitulated them into successful careers. Mommy truly believed that our mandate as human beings was to help each other. She always prayed to God that He not take her life until her children